Folk that done learn how when all kind of hell is breaking loose, you yet know how to be still and know that he is God. You know how to just stand there and trust God and tell a person, he that will come shall come and he will not take. God gonna do it for me. God gonna do it for my family. It ain't over until God says that it is over. You will tell somebody, do you not know the season that I'm in? I'm in a season of, you're in a season of what? You're in a season of what? Notice John 11. Let's pick it up at verse number 5. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister being Mary, and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, the sisters had sent word to him that he whom you love is sick. He's sick and he's in need of your help. If you didn't know any better, if you hadn't read the text before, you would think that he's about to take off and go. When he heard that he was sick, he dropped everything and went to him. But a lot of us know that's not the case. Know that when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to his disciples, let us go to Judea again. Drop down to verse 20. So then he made up his mind he was going to see about Lazarus. Now Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary was sitting in the house. Now Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus had to explain to her that the resurrection is standing in front of you. Look at verse number 39. Then Jesus said, take away the stone. Roll the stone away. Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days. This is Martha, the one that was talking about, Lord, you can do anything. Lord, if you had been here, he wouldn't have died. But Lord, even now, whatever you asked of God, he'll do it. Notice verse 40. Jesus said to her, did not I say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? Listen to me. Martha was not believing the way that she needed to believe. And when it came to Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, they were known as Jesus' disciples. They were known as believers. Yet in the text, when Martha and Mary needed Jesus the most, they really didn't believe that he was able to do what needed to be done. Look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, our subject this morning, when believers don't believe. Tell somebody it's sad when folk are known as believers, confess to be believers, yet don't believe. Tell somebody that's sad. I said sad. Folk confessing to be a believer, but don't believe. Folk who are known at the church house, in the community, and on their job as a believer, yet upon close examination of their life, they really don't believe at all. And it may get a little quiet in here this morning, so don't let that bother if it get a little quiet. Our belief matters. Whether you choose to walk by faith or walk by sight matters. And I don't know about you, but I have made up in my mind that I'm not going to be a pseudo believer. I'm not going to be a false believer. I'm not going to be that which folk will look at and say it's counterfeit. It's not, he's not real. And you should feel the same way. You should desire to be known as a bona fide believer. Or you should desire to be known as a disciple indeed. Because in John 8:31, Jesus said, if you abide in my word, then are you my disciples indeed or truly. See, Jesus put a stipulation, if you will, on who was really a disciple or a believer. And I like how he said it in John 8:31. Again, he said, if you abide in my word, you are my disciple indeed. You are truly a believer if you can abide in my word. Now, the problem with a lot of us, we can abide in the word as long as things are wonderful. We can abide in the word when we're seeing what we desire to see. We can abide in the word when we're hearing what we desire to hear. We can abide in the word when God is doing what we want him to do on our timetable. But if you're going to be a disciple indeed, you have to learn to abide in the word when things don't go your way. You have to learn to abide in the word when you get a no and you were believing for a yes. You have to abide in the word when you put in for the promotion but got turned down for the promotion. And not only got turned down, but it came with a demotion, or they put you down lower and you were believing to go higher. As a true believer, you yet got to abide in that word. Oh, God, somebody know what I'm talking about. You have to be able to get a negative report and yet abide in the word. You have to be able to have man say something to you as if it's final, but because you abide in the word, you know it ain't over until God says that it's over. Why? Because you abide in that word. Do I have anybody this morning that you don't just quote the word, but you strive to abide in the word? You strive to stand on the word, come hell or high water. You learned how to abide on the word. Again, when fiery trials are coming, you've learned not to think it strange, but you learned how to rejoice anyhow because you are a true disciple. I wish some of my true disciples would make some noise this morning and let folk know that you just done learn how to stand on the word no matter what. Oh, they in the house this morning. People that have just learned how to stand on the word no matter. Folk that done learn how when all kind of hell is breaking loose, you yet know how to be still and know that he is God. You know how to just stand there and trust God and tell a person, he that will come shall come and he will not take. God gonna do it for me. God gonna do it for my family. It ain't over until God says that it is over. You will tell somebody, do you not know the season that I'm in? I'm in a season of, you're in a season of what? You're in a season of what? You gonna miss your better if you don't learn to abide in that word. You're gonna mess around and miss your better getting in and out the word, believing and then doubting. But notice in the text how we have a perfect illustration of someone who says the right thing but does not really believe what they are saying. Again, it's quiet. Because, see, a lot of us, we know folk that they say the right thing. But when you look at their actions, it's clear that they don't really believe what they're saying. And some of us, we done learned around the right people to say what is right. Did you hear me? I said some of us just done learn when we get around certain folk. We know not to talk down because we know they'll straighten us. We know we just can't say anything around certain folk because they'll call us out. And so even though our heart is full of unbelief, we'll yet say what sounds right. But I come to teach you this morning that it is not enough just to say the right thing. You have to believe what's coming out of your mouth. Why is that, Pastor? Because of Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the what? Tongue. And those who love it will eat its fruit. Listen, that is not just saying to just simply say what is right. It ain't just saying just to speak the word only. Because notice that Solomon also said, he who loves it will eat its fruit. In other words, what Solomon is saying that when what you're saying actually gets attached to you and becomes a part of you, you're going to reap what is in you. Whoa, come on. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is what? He. So it's not enough just to speak life, but life has to get attached to me. To the point to where I can be going through something tough, but I'm not going to pull them out. Why? Because I'm loving speaking life. Life is attached to me. And in my darkest hour, I yet see light. Why? Because of what I'm allowing to get attached to me. Paul taught the church in Corinthians, the 13th chapter, that it is possible, listen carefully, for a person to say the right thing, but there be no corresponding actions behind what he or she is saying. Listen to me. You call that dead faith. Because faith without works is what? Dead. What is work? Corresponding actions. And Paul said, though I speak with the tongues of angels, though I speak what sounds right, if I don't have love, or if there's not no actions behind what I'm saying, listen, Paul says I become as a sounding brass, as a tinkling cymbal. In other words, I'm just making noise.